You are tuned to the Witching Hours, and I'm your host, Kanaska Carter. On tonight's episode, we will be speaking about Mike deGruy, and he is an Emmy Award-winning American documentary filmmaker, and he specialized in underwater cinematography, and he was also a marine biologist. Now, he died in 2012 after a helicopter crash in Australia. This was near the town of Barrie in New South Wales at Jasper's Brush. This is where the helicopter crashed. So Andrew White was also in the helicopter, and he died that day. So why am I talking about Mike deGruy? Well, he actually discovered underwater brine pools in the Gulf of Mexico. And these look like portals to another world, or portals to the underworld or inner earth. It looks like a witch's cauldron when you approach the brine pool. And he said he was unable to penetrate the brine pool because it was so dense. They were unable to get into it. So they look like portals, basically. It looks like this mist at the top of it. I will be showing you in this episode what they look like. That is within the water. So underneath the ocean, there is what looks like a lake with waves lapping on top of this circular donut type of pool. So I definitely believe in underwater alien life. In an interview with Glenn Davis on November 19th, 1990, he described the aliens' fingers as having suction cups on them. So this immediately made me think about aquatic humanoids or underwater aliens.
Talked to you, I was curious on what happened. And she said, well, you won't believe it. She says, I don't believe it either. But she said, I got in a lot of trouble on this thing. I'm not real sure about this. But she said, then she pulled out of a little purse or little pocketbook, whatever she had there. She gave me a little diagram that she had drawn some figures of some arms and face and so on. She told me that this is what, was what was in those, that it was a crash. It wasn't an airplane, but they didn't know what it was. And, she explained it in the way she drew it, that the heads were somewhat larger than a human heads. The hands were long, no thumbs. They were just long, very delicate fingers at the end of them. On the underside at the tip of each finger was a pad-like, maybe a little pad, but it looked like the skin had maybe little suction cups on those.
So I did a bit of research into who are the indigenous tribes around the Gulf of Mexico where these strange things are happening with the brine pools and the Gulf of Mexico. The ocean was on fire. There was a circle of fire. They were trying to put it out due to an alleged gas leak. So what was the origin story for the indigenous cultures that live near the Gulf of Mexico? So the Atticapan creation story. Man is said to have been cast up from the sea in an oyster shell. And this reminds me of the shape of a UFO that looked like a shell. Because wouldn't it be the same type of shape if you think about it? So many indigenous peoples from around the world talk about how they come from inside of the earth or inside of the ocean, or they come from the sky. So the Karankawa are said to have been cannibals. This is the other tribe, and there's no known information about their religion that was recorded. So many indigenous tribes in their creation stories speak of coming from the sea or inside of the earth or the sky. Mike deGruy discovered a brine pool that was in the Gulf of Mexico, and it looks like a portal to inner earth, or a portal to another dimension completely. And as I was saying, Glenn Davis, he was there during Roswell. So there was an alien crash during Roswell, and what ended up happening was his friend who was working on the crash, she came to him and she had witnessed what was going on about there being bodies, alien bodies, and she was so scared telling him this. She was talking to Glenn and saying about how they had suction cups, they had large craniums, just like what you would view gray aliens as looking like. This is what his friend described the creatures, the bodies that were recovered at Roswell. This is what the bodies look like. Now, Glenn Davis worked in the funeral home close by, and so they called him. The military called him, and they said, what was the smallest caskets that they could get, and how would they go about disposing of a body? Things like this. So, the suction cups is why I'm bringing that up. It makes me think of a frog, like a frog's hands, or, the suction cups just makes me think of underwater creatures. In July 2021, the Gulf of Mexico caught on fire, the ocean, due to an alleged gas leak. Looks like the portal to hell was opened up, essentially. Maybe they had to kill a sea monster or something. So the Gulf of Mexico gas leak. Water was on fire. The ocean was on fire. This happened not that long ago. So did scientists actually open up a portal inside of the ocean, or try to destroy creatures that escaped? That would be a kind of crazy scenario to think about. That's why there actually was fire. Maybe there was no gas leak and there was like these insane aliens that came out and they're like trying to kill them. So there's actually a South Park episode. I'm going to show you a clip from that. And they're talking about DP drilled and ripped a hole into another dimension. And this is all taking place at the Gulf of Mexico. So often they'll hide truth in plain sight in the media, in television, in shows and things like that. So the Hopi also believe that we came from beneath the earth. Another indigenous peoples that believe we came from inside of the earth.
This is in the Gulf of Mexico as the oil company DP has once again made a huge error. This time, the oil company has accidentally ripped a hole into another dimension.
It was absolutely impossible. I'd been in the Air Force. I'd worked on the state-of-the-art of our aviation capabilities. And here I was on the deck of a submarine in the conning tower. And I knew what we had to be able to have to go underwater. And I knew that the two were incompatible. Here's something that came from under the water and flew in the air and performed maneuvers, and then came back down and interfaced with the water at tremendous speed and remained intact, which realistically, it never touched the water. The water sort of magically opened up in front of it, but something had to interface with that water. Anything that we had that interfaced with the water in that manner would have been disintegrated. It's like hitting a brick wall. So I was looking at a technology that, as far as our laws of physics and what we knew at that time, didn't exist. This was in 1966. And Ensign Ball was as shocked as I was. He called the captain to the bridge, came up with the chief quartermaster who brought a camera, and we all stood there and watched this occur over and over again for about 10 minutes. And I still, to this day, don't know if it was the same craft or a whole bunch of different craft going in and out of the water. But it seemed like that there was a hell of a lot of traffic on that freeway right there.
That's it for this episode of The Witching Hours. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are there underwater portals? Did Mike deGruy discover portals to other worlds and dimensions? Because if you think about the microbiology of each brine pool, they're all unique. So does each brine pool lead to different worlds, different dimensions? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be posting another episode tomorrow to get caught up, and then another episode on Wednesday, because I did take 2 weeks off after my cat died. Rest in peace, Horace. And yeah, this episode goes out to Horace, my cat of 14 years. I'll be posting tomorrow, guys. Have a great night.